Hello and welcome to the Women's Football Spotlight podcast. I'm joined by my co-host Ross Ballack and myself, Dan Conway, and today we're going to go through Spain and Portugal game and talk about some of the latest talking points from the WSL. So let's get straight into it, Ross. So, England, Spain, England, Portugal. Where do you want to kick off?
Well, as a whole, there were one and a half good performances there. I thought Portugal, first 45 minutes, England were really good. Yesterday, slightly less exciting, the Spanish game, but you're in it to win it, aren't you? So Nations League might not be like a big deal, but when you play against Spain, the confidence that the girls could take into the Euros this summer could be massive, because there is every chance that they're going to meet Spain at some point in the summer. So that win, like I said, although it wasn't like the best game to watch, and it wasn't as good as that first 45 minutes against Portugal in terms of a team performance, the confidence that could give the players could be massive, that they can beat that level of opposition. I think Spain have proved to be a little bit of a bogey team, and not just for the senior women's team, but through the age groups as well. Particularly kind of in recent years, you're seeing England and Spain seem to be meeting a lot at European and world competitions in age levels, and Spain definitely seem to have the upper hand. And so I think in terms of confidence and a boost for the team, when they probably weren't in a great patch, would be massive. I don't know if you feel the same at all.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point. Spain, they won. England won ugly, so to speak. They weren't great. Spain had good possessions of spell. England had a handful of portions of spell, particularly in the second half where they were controlling the ball, they'd pinned Spain in, and it was really good to see. But yeah, I think it's more of a confidence boost, especially after a bit of a disappointing result against Portugal. I think it was a game of two halves in Portugal. You know, the first half England did well, second half Portugal took control and dominated. And I think obviously we were excited, Nations League, first game, let's get England back to it. But it was a bit of a limp performance in the sense where Spain beating the World Cup champions, you know, that will give them a boost. And I think England benefited from the fact that Spain were good, but were a little bit toothless in the sense that they created good chances, but they couldn't finish them. And they were fortunate that Garcia was playing. Even when she was in the WSL, she played for Man United. She was never particularly prolific, and fortunately, she wasn't on form or on fire last night. There's a few performances I think, there's a few kind of shots she should have put away. So I think England can be grateful for Spain not being clinical, but like I said, England weren't particularly clinical either. So overall, we'll take the win. 4 points in 2 games against 2 good teams. Yeah, overall positive.
And I think if you'd offered the squad 4 points from the 2 games, perhaps you probably would have pictured the results the other way around. A win against Portugal, a draw against Spain, we'll take that. So I think in that sense, I mean, I have to admit, Garcia was one of my favourite players in the WSL when she played, and I thought it was a real shame that United couldn't hang on to her. I remember going to see them play at the Emirates in her final season at United, and I just thought she was one of the best players on the pitch, and really made a huge difference to United, who were having a quite poor season. You know, it's easy to forget that they're a very young club in women's football still. You know, she was brilliant. But last night I really think Spain really carved out some great chances, particularly in the second half. And perhaps England rode their luck a little bit. Yeah. But we've said it in the last couple of episodes. That's what you need in football. You try and build a team. You try and pick the best players, put them in a position to perform at their best. But every team's going to need a little bit of luck, particularly when it comes to tournament football.
On this then, Sarina Wiegman, 2 games running, only used 3 subs out of 5. I think that was a bit odd. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you know my thoughts on this. I don't understand it. I really don't. I think if you're a player and you're away for 2 weeks at a time in training camp and you sit on the bench for both games, I think you're going to be disappointed. Like, professional pride will probably be somewhat impacted. What I find most frustrating is that, as a fan, not to say they shouldn't come on, but like Chloe Kelly, we know what she can do. I think it's probably borderline as to whether she should have been in the squad in the first place with the lack of action she's had. But, Nikita Paris, we know what she can do. We didn't really see anybody else at all. Even Jess Carter, when she came on at half-time in the Portugal game, she came on because Lucy Bronze was injured. But again, she's played all the games for the lionesses in the last World Cup. For me personally, I think it's a real shame. You're losing an opportunity to give experience to some players who probably need it. I mean, you're allowed to use 5 subs, even if it is the last couple of minutes, and maybe Sarina Wiegman didn't feel she could do that because the game was still pretty tight. But for me, I don't understand it. I don't know how you feel about it, but I've already told you. I don't get it myself.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Sarina Wiegman was probably trying to protect the win. That's maybe why she didn't do all 5 subs. But I agree with you. I think it is an opportunity to bleed players through, give people opportunity. I don't know. Portugal game, I think it would have expected another sub at least. So I think it is a missed opportunity for some of those like really good quality players who have made the squad. So yeah, maybe a missed opportunity for England with the subs there. But I suppose I can understand trying to protect the victory, trying to protect the points. Maybe she was a little concerned that upsetting the rhythm of the team by bringing the subs on.
Yeah, I mean, particularly last night, I'd have loved to have seen Ruby Mace get on.
Yeah.
I think she's been exceptional in a
Yeah.
fairly unfashionable team this season in WSL down at Leicester, playing as a defensive midfielder. She wins more interceptions than most players in the league, whether those are ground duels or aerial duels as well. She's really got a high success rate in that, and I really admire her as a young player who was at Man City, went on loan to Leicester, and at the end of it, kind of almost made that decision of, I could stay at one of the best clubs in the country and be part of the squad, or I can go somewhere and play every week. I think I'd love to see more players do that in both the men's and the women's game. She took that responsibility and she went to Leicester because she wanted the game time. She wanted to build up that experience. And I think she's just been really, really good this season. And I felt that yesterday, particularly, we spoke last week about worryingly a little bit of lack of depth. I think she is somebody who could come through in a position that we're not exactly stocked with. I thought Clinton and Toon playing in the midfield 3, I thought it worked okay, but I think in the last 10, even 5 minutes, you could have got another defensive midfielder on. I'd love to have seen her get some minutes.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. I completely agree with you in this. I think it's a similar situation. I think it was very brave of Ruby Mace to go to Leicester permanently. It is always a risk to leave Man City, who do have the budget to have a bigger squad, stay on their payroll, maybe a bit safer, but she took a risk, went to Leicester, and is doing a great job. And I think a great example of that is Grace Clinton. Yeah, she was on loan to Tottenham last season, but she went on loan and made herself stand out and got herself called up for England.
And actually, interestingly, she was one who I think during the summer, I think Spurs did try.
Yeah.
I think Tottenham did try and make that a permanent signing, and I think it was one she would have been open to again for that game time. And unfortunately, we're in a situation now where her club manager doesn't seem to think that both Clinton and Ella Toon can play in the same team.
Yeah.
And so she's probably not got as many starts this season at United, or as she definitely would have got at Tottenham. And actually, over the 2 games, I actually thought she was the better performer of the 2.
Agreed.
I'm not sure if you're going to play three in midfield, I don't think, I'm not sure it totally suits Ella Toon. I think she does play better as a 10. So if you want to play, goalkeeper 4-2-3-1, I think Ella Toon plays in that 10 position. But I thought, I was really impressed with Clinton's ability to get up and down the field. First half in Portugal, the Portuguese fashioned a really good chance, and who was there in the 18-yard box, stick a toe in and intercept and take the ball away from the striker? It was Grace Clinton back there defending, and I thought more than a few times in both games, I thought defensively she was really good. I think she looked to be a really good option as a number 8. We spoke last week about perhaps a little lack of depth in that position when Georgia Stanway's not around. Somebody with a bit of physicality who can get up and down the pitch, but also intercept and win possession back. And I thought Clinton did that really well. And actually, of the two, I felt she probably had the better week away for England this week than Ella too, despite how well Ella's playing in the WSL.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Grace Clinton and Kira Walsh, it was actually quite reassuring because it was quite a strong team that England put out. And I think Sarina Wiegman was trying to test out strong teams. And, with Georgia Stanway not being there, I think Grace Clinton showed that she's the best person to then fill that, plug in that gap. Her and Kira Walsh worked quite well together. And I think you're right. I think Ella Toon, when she played number 10 in both the games, if I remember correctly. Then I felt like she didn't quite carry her league form into the international side. I felt like she, some people can really carry on. I would like to have seen a little bit more, like a bit more in the final third from Ella Toon. So I think her starting place is under threat. I think if you've got Lauren Hemp in the squad and fit, I think she will start up the top on the left. And I think if you put Lauren James number 10, I think it was a choice between a fit James and a fit Ella Toon. I think it's going to be Lauren James in most people's choices and selections.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was interesting that Wiegman played with 3 in midfield. So for Toon, I do have some sympathy because it's not a position she plays. Her start position is actually in there with Walsh and Clinton. And while she's an incredibly technically gifted footballer, and she has a great strike from just outside the box, I don't think physically that midfield role particularly suits her. And I felt that's probably what the difference between the two were over the week. I think Clinton showed she probably has that little bit more versatility and could slot in there. And I thought it was interesting because watching Friday's game back, you think to yourself, well, is this just because it's Portugal? No offence to them, but they're outside the top 10 of the world rankings. I thought Spain might have been maybe a stretch too far. I have to admit, I didn't think it was a game that England weren't going to get anything out of. So it was good to be proven wrong. For Clinton individually, I think she really stood up to that test of playing against, one of the best teams in the world at the moment.
Yeah, I think, going back to what you said earlier, I think she's very physical. She's got that, she can bully players. She's very physical, very strong. She's got a bit of height on her, and she's not afraid to put her weight about. And I think that's where her and Stanway they have a strength for that type of role. And you're right, she's a great typical old school box to box midfielder, up and down of both boxes. Can shoot, can score, but also defend and put in quite a firm challenge and let you know they're there. And I think that only inspires confidence in players. So I think you're right. I think Grace Clinton had a good, if we're talking about trials and probation, I thought she did a good job putting herself potentially in the squad for the summer.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I think she's definitely in the squad
for
the summer, but I think she's shown you could take her and know she could play that 8 or 10 role, depending on what shape you're going to use against any given opposition.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, let's discuss some of the players and we'll go through a few more and get our thoughts on them. So, goalkeeping situation was an interesting talking point. So, Hannah Hampton started against Spain and Mary Earps started against Portugal. Thoughts on this, Ross?
I don't know. I've not seen rotating goalkeepers work anywhere. What you don't want is you don't want there to be indecision at a major tournament. You want, and you're going to hurt somebody's feelings, but I genuinely believe that now we're into kind of like 6 months to the summer tournament. I think she really needs to make a decision on who her number one is going to be. Obviously, both keepers were excellent. Obviously, people might point to Hampton having kept the clean sheet. I think she made 6 saves in the game against Spain as well. Had a really good performance. But you can't discount Mary Earps. For me, personally, the best goalkeeper I've seen in the WSL in the flesh. And I remember seeing her a long time ago when she played at what was then Bristol Academy, now Bristol City. And I remember seeing her at the time and just thinking, how was this player not at a higher club? I couldn't understand it. And she's had a great career. And I know there are a lot of people out there saying that's over and we need to move on. But I'm not so sure. Obviously, for me personally, I'm not sure who I'd pick, but I'm not paid to make that decision. Thankfully for everybody involved and everybody who supports the Lionesses,
Yeah.
I'm not paid to make that decision. But I think 6 months out, I think Sarina Wiegman probably does need to make a decision. No, not probably. She does need to make a decision and get some consistency between the goalkeeper and her defensive unit. I don't know how many fixtures the Lionesses have between now and the start of the Euros, but yeah, I'd like to see a decision made. I've never seen rotating goalkeepers work. I don't like the idea of one in one game, one out the other, and just taking turns. I think, I don't know what that does for building cohesiveness. I don't know about you, but I just think I think a decision has to be made, and it has to be made pretty quickly.
I think, is this Sarina Wiegman's way of slowly introducing Hannah Hampton as a number one? But I said, like, to play against Spain, who are arguably, but not arguably, the better team of Spain and Portugal, you'd have thought it would have been the other way around. If you're going to test, experiment who your number one is, you're going to try it in the weaker opposition. Hannah Hampton is better with her feet. Her distribution, she's a good pass with the ball. She's quite a good pinpoint crosser. And I wonder if Sarina Wiegman is seeing that and trying to adapt and play more from the back and have Hannah Hampton spraying the ball, almost like as an extra defender, an extra Leah Williamson. Now, the difficulty you've got is that, fair enough if we had an understudy, a keeper that wasn't as good, but Mary Earps, as we owe her some loyalty, I think, as well, because she was a key. Without Mary Earps, we wouldn't have won the Euros, and she's an incredible shot stopper. Yeah, maybe not as good with her feet, but incredible shot stopper in the women's game. I said arguably the best. There's a reason she won the awards for being the best keeper in the world.
Yeah.
So I think we need to be careful with that decision making, but let's see what Sarina does. I think this may be a sneaky suspicion of her possibly trying to have her feet playing goalkeeper and Hannah Hampton coming in. But you're right, chopping, changing, I think a decision needs to be made. For the defence as well, for their peace of mind, knowing who's going to be behind them every week. Okay, I just want to touch on Lucy Bronze. Jess Carter, I think, is a really good centre-back and did a great job at Chelsea for a long time. I know she's moved to America now. But I feel like there was a big difference when she came on the second half of Lucy Bronze. And I felt like England lost their threat down that right-hand side. Thoughts on Jess Carter right back, or the right back position, Lucy Bronze?
It's Bronze's position.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a debate there to be had. She is a special player, has had an incredible career. I remember it was under Neville when she was playing centre midfield as well, and was still one of the best players.
Very versatile.
Yeah, and I the sad thing for me is that with all football players, they reach a certain age and you start wondering how long can they keep doing this for? But Bronze doesn't seem to show.
I think she's
33. Signs of slowing down.
33, yeah.
Still arguably the best in her position in the world. So for me, there's no discussion there. It's Lucy Bronze is the starting right back. if she's fit, she plays. What we've spoken a couple of times about lack of depth. What does worry me is if for any reason she's not there, or if for any reason she decided not to keep playing international football at the end of this tournament cycle.
It's a big hole.
It's a big set of boots to fill. Not literally, figuratively. She's not Jill Scott, but yeah, like it's a really, really interesting thing that we've kind of started to look into in terms of depth and the amount of minutes being given to England qualified players in the WSL as the quality rises and as the teams start recruiting from all around the world and from all the different competitions. You want to see somebody take that mantle, and but yeah, at the moment, what I would say is, as football fans, we can be really guilty of looking at someone's age or looking at bad form and just thinking, we'll just dip into the transfer market, on to the next one. Let's get the young ones coming through, and rather than just enjoying what we have. And at the moment, Lucy Bronze is still arguably the best in her position in the world. So as an England fan, as a Lioness fan, I'm just going to enjoy what we have until we don't have it anymore, because she is nailed on for me. Nailed on, along with Kira Walsh and Russo and James. I think they're just nailed on for the summer. All four of them.
I think we agreed on that. I think most fans would. And I think Lucy Bronze, I followed her for... Obviously, she's from the Newcastle North East area, and obviously that's where I'm located. And so she's got massive following, like obviously all over the world in England, but particularly in the North East, she's idolised. And I've followed her and watched a few of her documentaries, and she's quite open about the fact, that she's had knee issues for, I think, most of her life, since she was a young kid, teenager. And she's open about the fact that I think she does play with pain in her knee, but she loves the sport. She loves playing for her country. And like I said, at 33, some players would retire, but we just got to hope. And she's never shown any indication of retiring, and I hope she keeps going. Like I said, she is nailed on for that position for as long as she wants it. So that's. I
think her Chelsea contract's 2 seasons. I think. I off the top of my head, I've got a funny feeling it is. So for me, that takes past this summer and into next season. And so, when you're the starting right back at the unbeaten best team in the WSL, you are your starting right back for your national team. She's done it for so long. It's been amazing to see her play, and the way she has been so versatile for England when they've needed it to be. And like I said, for me, I'm not thinking too much about who's next or who could replace her. As long as she's fit, she's in the team, and I think as Lioness fans, we just have to enjoy watching Lucy Bronze while we can, because I don't think we're going to see a player like that for a long time in an England shirt. Do what she does, doing all those things that in the men's game at least, like, you don't see English players do, like versatile in position, playing abroad more than one time. Learning different languages. Like, I think she has really she is going to finish, when she does, she's going to finish as a
legend. Yeah. Like, you think of the goal against Portugal was her amazing cross. Great header from Russo, but a brilliant cross.
Well, not just the cross. Like, Lauren James fires that ball at her from one side of the pitch to the other. For me, it's that first touch. That is not an easy thing to do. If you haven't seen the goal, go and watch it, because that ball is drilled at Lucy Bronze, and it's not like there's nobody around her. The Portuguese defender isn't miles away, but that first touch, that look up, and then just that cross into the box. I don't think Russo had to move. She literally just stuck out her foot and it went in. But the ball was amazing. But like I said, for me, without that first touch, the ball doesn't go in, and it's honestly, for me, that is one of the best things I've seen this season in a football game. That first touch, absolutely. I think
what I really like about her qualities is that she's never panics. always composed, a really good thinker of the ball. Do you know what I mean? Like, she's just really smart in her brain, what she's going to do. And if you ever notice, it's not often, but she doesn't have great amounts of pace. I imagine that may relate to her knee. I don't know,
I'd love to
but
see her race you though.
oh, she'd smash me. Like, yeah, we'll do it. Lucy Bronze, we'll have a race, and you can beat me and embarrass me. But
Put the challenge out there, Dan.
yeah, exactly. I'm
Get her on
coming
the
after you,
pod.
Lucy.
Yeah.
But yeah, but she always her position is really good. Like, she never gets. It's very rare she gets caught out.
But
Um,
it's also like, as we're starting to see more in modern football, like fullbacks drifting inside to allow other players to go. Like watching England these last two games, and I think throughout Wiegman's tenure as manager, I think there is a lot of emphasis on attacking from those wide areas. I do think as a team, England needs to be better attacking
yeah,
conceptually. I don't think we see enough of that. But we're lucky to be blessed with players in those wide areas, and so those wingers stay wide, like old fashioned wingers, chalk on the boots and all those cliches we can come out with from like the 50s. But like the wingers seem to stay high and wide, and because she can drift in, it offers that extra layer of protection for particularly when you've got two attacking players like Clinton and Toon in midfield, having Bronze be able to both overlap and come inside to kind of offer some support to Kira Walsh. It's massive. So I think for me, I'd love to see her win another trophy this summer with the England team. I'm not 100% sure it will happen, but like I said earlier, the result against Spain last night will be a massive boost to the girls, and if anyone deserves another trophy, it's definitely her. And if she is playing with pain, then she certainly does show it. And let's just once you've lost to her in a race to her, Dan, like after that, we can just keep enjoying watching Lucy Bronze play
yeah,
as long as Lucy Bronze wants.
yeah. That's a guaranteed hamstring pull from me.
Yeah, yeah. Conway
Right,
versus Bronze at the Gateshead Athletic Stadium. Let's
that's
let's get
it.
let's get that going.
That's the one. I'll find her. Right. Yes, so let's just touch on a few other players. You kind of mentioned Russo. I think she particularly against Portugal first half, but her link up play is so good, holding up, bringing players in. She's first class. She is the best at that. Like bringing, getting the ball, taking a touch, spraying it out to someone, and just build momentum into the forward play. Any thoughts on Russo's performance?
Yeah, again, she's another one I think who had a really good week this week in an England shirt. For me, obviously the goal against Spain, that is all down to her. The way she's able to pin her marker, spin, pace in behind, dribble into the box and get that. And I know the finish doesn't look great because it is scruffy, but her work to carve out that opportunity for Jess Park to finish was just,
Yeah,
like you said, first class. There's a reason why she's one of the top goal scorers in the league, because she's brilliant. And again, she's one that I'd like to see some pressure on her in terms of players in the squad. We spoke a lot about how surprised we were that Beth England wasn't included in the squad this time round, and if she's not making this squad, chances are she isn't going in the summer. I would love to see her come in, even if it is just to allow Russo to play fewer minutes against some of the lower ranked teams. Playing up front on your own isn't easy. It's a really difficult job to do. You're permanently two, or in case of Portugal, we played five at the back, kind of three against one, and I thought she was exceptional in both games. Let's wrap her in cotton wool.
yeah.
Again, the old classic football cliche. Let's wrap her in cotton wool for the rest of the season, and hope for the best for the summer. But yeah, I think she really, I think she struggled a little bit initially with that move to Arsenal. But this
Yeah,
season, I think she's just shown, um, particularly since the change of management. And I'm not suggesting that one thing had a factor on the other, but since the change of management, I think she's been exceptional these last kind of 6-8 weeks. And so
I
again,
think
another
it
one
must
we'll just
be part of it. Like, I'd love to hear it. Like, hear her honest thoughts. And I bet there's been some kind of, obviously she's been coached, or Slagers has obviously kind of approached her differently, coaching her differently, because it's definitely, I think, a correlation between her incredible league form under Slagers. So,
Well, I
yeah,
think it's just the minutes as well. I think she's probably played more consistently as a starter. Yeah, you never know what's happening in a player's life, and as we've seen with Ella Toon, who has had some really difficult times recently in her personal life. Those things affect us all. You and I work very normal jobs. We're not expected to be at an elite level at all times, but we're affected by things in our personal life, and so I'm not suggesting I know anything that anybody else doesn't, but we sometimes forget the human in the footballer. At the start of the season, probably it looked like it was probably a bit tough for her. She wasn't really getting those consistent minutes, Russo, but she's back now. She's flying. I think second highest goal scorer in the league. And like I said, I think she's one of the players who had an exceptional 2 games. I totally understand why she was taken off against Spain. Like I said, playing up front on your own is really hard, but her work rate, her link play, her ability to pin defenders and spin, she does have it all. She is what you want in a lone central striker, and like I said, all you want now is the last Euros. She was coming on in that super sub role, 60 minutes, and getting England over the line. Now this is going to be her opportunity to lead that line and to lead the team in a European defence, and you just want to see her banging the goals in. Like I said, the goal against Portugal, good finish, but that was made, by James and Bronze. But I actually thought, even though she didn't score the goal against Spain, that goal was entirely down to her, and I thought she was brilliant.
yeah, no, I'm fully with you on that. But you made a good point, going back to Beth England quickly. Yeah, I was surprised. I think looks like Sarina Wiegman for that number 9. This time she chose Aggie B with Jones, who's looking really promising, great striker at Chelsea, but doesn't always get the minutes, and that's where Beth England does have the advantage, where when she's fit, she's playing week in, week out at Tottenham. So we'll see.
It's again, we made the point about Ruby Mace going to a less fashionable team, to get those minutes. Beth England is not just playing consistently at Spurs, but she's scoring consistently at Spurs, who probably aren't having, a lot of fun at the moment in the WSL. But she is still scoring consistently, and we were both shocked that she wasn't in the squad. It's not like Rachel Daly has retired from international football. She's closed that door. Beth England hasn't done that, and for me, I'm not saying she should be in and she should be starting, but I'd definitely like to see her in the squad for the experience that she brings. But also, I think when players are playing well, it's really important that the players around the league see that if you are playing consistently and you are performing consistently, that you will be rewarded for that. And I feel perhaps a bit unfair that she wasn't this time round, particularly when you look around at the attacking options and you think, for me personally, I felt England were a bit light in the midfield selection and probably had a few too many wingers and not enough central strikers in the attacking roles, and maybe that's why we're only seeing 3 subs made each game as well.
Yeah.
But again, you're missing opportunities to give players minutes to put forward their case, to gain experience if you're a younger player like Ruby Mace, or to put your case forward if you're an experienced player like Beth England. I think as well, real elite players, they thrive off competition. I remember a long time ago listening to an interview of Paul Clement, who was the assistant at Real Madrid with Carlo Ancelotti when he was there first time round. And he was asked, like, what's the difference between a good professional footballer and a world-class professional footballer? and he just said that for him, his experience was the desire that they had to win and to be the best at training in any little game, whatever it may be. And I wonder if maybe we're missing a trick by not having another striker there to push Russo to an even greater level. At Arsenal, she has that. She has players who play in her position who are pushing her and who are making her have to score consistently to keep her place. I think perhaps we were missing a trick there with England and not having that, particularly when you're defending a major trophy.
Yeah, no, I think having a Beth in, like I said, she has experience, and I really rate Aggie with Jones. But if it were me, I would have Beth England purely from experience, and she's scoring, getting the goals in a team, nowhere near the quality of Chelsea. But I guess we'll see. I hope the door's still open. I think you're right. I think there's an indication that Beth England might not get a look in, but I really hope the door's open for her. And I think if she can continue her scoring form, I think she's something like 7 goals in the WSL. I hope she can continue that and get in the team and come on for the last 20 minutes of a game and make that difference, when Russo is tired and needs a break. Okay, Lauren James touched on it. Anything we need to add about the incredible Lauren James? Particularly not have many minutes beforehand.
Yeah, I think like Lauren James, there was some really good stuff and there was some decision making that was a bit questionable. But she's still a young player. And I think we need to be really careful. There's so many examples in sport where players are put to the forefront before they're ready. People might think it's a bit odd me saying she's a young player. She's only 23. She has fewer than 100 professional appearances in her career. For me, that is still a player who is not fully experienced yet. And when I say professional appearances, I'm talking about club appearances. Over her time at Arsenal, United, and Chelsea, she has fewer than 100 games under her belt. That is a player who is still finding their way in the game to me. Actually, yes, there was some questionable decision making in the Portugal game, particularly. I thought she had an excellent game against Spain, and I thought we saw a side of her that maybe we don't always see in terms of her defensive work.
Yes.
The negative things, the less than positive things, they are things that she doesn't need me to tell her about. Like, she doesn't need me, who is coached a little bit, to tell about it. Like, she knows, and she will learn and she will get better. I genuinely think, I'm putting it on record, at some point in her career, she will be the best women's player in the world.
Yeah, she'll win that award. Yeah, I agree. I think Emma Hayes, a good year ago, was quite like when everyone's getting excited about Lauren James, and rightly so. But Emma James kind of brought everyone down to earth a little bit and said, you know what, amazing player. Said, but she's just got to make sure she works on a fewer parts of her game. And she was referring and alluding to like the defensive duties, and it is difficult when you've been raised and you've always been the kind of the forward maverick. Defensive duties aren't normally as fun, and people aren't interested as much to do them. But credit to Lauren James from that England game, and you can see over the last year or so that England game in Spain, she got back and she was doing defensive duties, and I haven't necessarily seen such commitment from her in those instances before, and it was really good to see that she's developing that part of her game that maybe she doesn't enjoy as much, understandably, but great to see.
What I loved, an aspect of the game that I really liked in the last couple of weeks, in the last 2 England games, more and more, is like picking up the ball as a winger. Like, as fans, you want to see a winger get on the ball and then like attack the defender. And there were a couple of times in both games where she recognised that going forward wasn't the right thing to do, but just playing the ball backwards wasn't going to change the picture for her teammates. And so you're seeing her pick up the ball and dribble in some areas that maybe as a coach you might not always appreciate a player doing, but what it meant is somebody then had to track her, and it changed the picture. So she might have dribbled back towards her back four or back towards her centre backs, and maybe laid the ball off or played the ball to Walsh, but she'd create space for somebody else and it changed the picture. And I love that because, you know, it's it's a real for coaches. You talk a lot about like, dribble the ball in the right places. Well, it's one way of retaining the ball. We talk about retaining the ball and like keeping possession and tiki taka and possession football. Well, that's one way you can retain the ball. You can hold on to it and run with it and create new pictures and move somebody out of position. That's an amazing thing for a player to be able to do. She's so dangerous that no defender is not going to track her. Even if you feel she's going into a space that is slightly odd or unconventional, you can't just drop off and leave her with the ball and nobody within 10 yards of her. I mean, what will be interesting to see is how she's used once Hemp is back, once Kelly's back playing minutes, if she's in the squad. Will she play on the left? Will she play on the right? I think Jess Park had a couple of good performances as well. And she's nippy, Jess Park. She's quick, and I think that's something that could be a real effective weapon for England. But where then do you deploy your players? Whilst we might not maybe have two players in every position, knocking on the door, there are certain areas of the pitch, and forward line is, the three options behind the central striker. I think England do have a lot of options there, and it'll be interesting to see how they're utilised over the summer.
Yeah, I agree on Jess Park. I think Sarina Wiegman's gradually introduced her to the England team, given her sub-appearance minutes, and now she's starting games. And she has got great pace. She drives forward with the ball, and she's a threat. I think Man City, we're seeing her start to add goals to her games and get assists. And it's just a case now. I'd love to see her trying to take it to the next level, increase those goals, increase those assists. But I think if she's fit, she's definitely in the England squad, and I think she's a great option to come. If you've got Hemp, Chloe Kelly, Lauren James all fit, I think Jess Park likely isn't going to start, but she's a great option to have on the bench and come. When those defenders are tired, the last thing they want is a fully energised Jess Park come off the bench and driving at them.
Or Dan Conway, who's going to be as quick as himself.
Yeah, maybe 20 years ago, right?
No, not even 20 years ago.
No, I had some pace back in the day. Right.
Did you?
Yeah.
Don't remember seeing that. Don't remember seeing that.
Bad memory, mate. Bad memory. Do you want to quickly? I know we touched on already, but Nikita Paris, Chloe Kelly, sub appearances. Any thoughts on that?
Not really.
Not a lot to say, was there?
Yeah, and it goes back to the substitute thing. We're not seeing lots of subs used, but we're also not seeing subs being given the time to come on and do anything. I'm just looking here, like against Portugal, like we said, Jess Carter came on at half time because Bronze was injured.
Yeah.
Kelly came on the 3rd minute, and Beaver Jones came on the 84th minute. And then last night against Spain, Kelly and Paris both came on the 64th minute, so they had a bit of time. But then Jess Naz comes on the 84th minute. It's, for me, like I said, it's not just the 5 subs aren't being used, and that's 4 appearances somewhere that a couple of players could have got. But when the subs are coming on, they're coming on late, and actually, I don't know if it's not fair for us to judge. We know Chloe Kelly hasn't had a lot of minutes this season.
Yeah.
That's well documented. So I can understand why maybe you say, well, we can't use her that much. Well, if you can't use her that much, why bring in the squad? Maybe she could have stayed at Arsenal and played a couple of, I don't know, under 21s, under 23s matches and got some minutes under her belt, rather than the 35, 40 minutes that she got over 2 games with England. I don't know. Maybe that's down to them not feeling there was anybody else who had earned that spot. Obviously, you and I would have given that to Beth England, but again, thank goodness for everyone else, we're not paid to make those decisions. But yeah, I think it's hard to judge the players. We know what Chloe Kelly can do when she's fully fit for. We know what Nikita Paris can do. She's having a great season at Brighton. But it's hard to judge them off the back of 25 minutes here and 20 minutes there. There's not really much to say.
I kind of hope that Nikita Paris getting included gives hope for Beth England, because both similar. I think Nikita Paris a little bit older, but that similar ilk were in the England team. They were team squad mates, members of the England team for the years together. So we'll see. I was going to touch on Matt Beard sacking at Liverpool, just fresh today. Thoughts? Good, bad, ugly, right, wrong?
I know you and I disagree here. I actually think it's probably the right decision. Obviously, Matt's been there twice.
Yeah.
This is his second time as Liverpool manager, and without wanting to turn everybody off from the podcast, you and I are both Liverpool fans. He brought us some great memories first time round, WSL titles.
Yeah.
But the football landscape has changed, and Liverpool, they had a couple of tough years there with the women's team, and there were some issues in terms of was the hierarchy of the club particularly bothered about the women's team? Was it, was the women's team there just to say that they had a women's team, or was it something they were serious about? And what I would say is Matt Beard's got Liverpool out of the Championship into the WSL, and last season they broke into the top four. They finished ahead of United, and as a Liverpool fan, what you want to then see is you want the team then to kick on. It's quite a young team in a lot of areas, and then in the summer the club go and spend over £200,000 on Olivia Smith, and as a fan I'm excited. I think to myself, wow, maybe they're starting to take this seriously. I've not seen that progression. They're 7th in the league at the time of recording. I watched the City game just before the international break. Yes, obviously City have established themselves as a leading WSL team. And Liverpool had a chance early in the game to go one up and didn't take it. But I'm not sure how I feel about, 5 across the defence. I don't know. It's a tough gig. I think it probably is the right decision. I think the club, with signing Olivia Smith in the summer and spending that amount of money, and also bringing in some good players in the January transfer window, I think the club were looking to kick on, and unfortunately they haven't quite done that. But so I think it probably is the right thing. I'm surprised that they've just not waited till the end of the season. There's no chance that Liverpool were going to get relegated, but perhaps that's a good sign that they've not waited to just see the season out. And maybe they obviously feel that, looking at the table, they obviously feel that there's still something to be salvaged. Like I said, they sit 7th, 15 points, but that's 15 points off the top 3.
Maybe they might have someone in place. Maybe that's the reason they've moved them
perhaps.
on now.
What I would say is that they're 3 points behind Brighton in 5th. Yes, I'm looking at the table now, but they're 3 points behind Brighton in 5th. But then there's a 10-point gap between Brighton and Man City. So if Liverpool this season, I would like to see them win that little race outside the top 4. I'd like to see them finish 5th this season, and I think that's perfectly doable. We've not heard any kind of names of who could possibly be coming in, but you never want to see anyone lose their job. I'm surprised they haven't waited to the end of the season, but I think probably because they haven't kicked on, it probably is the right thing. But I know you're not 100% agreeing.
No, I think you're right. Like he did, in the earlier days of WSL, obviously, and it's changed a lot, even in just 3-4 years of WSL, and over 12 years has changed a lot. Now, credit to him for winning those WSL titles. Then obviously he moved on, went to different clubs, and Liverpool then were relegated, and then Liverpool came back into the WSL under the guidance of Matt Beard, and no one will take that away from him. That's a really great achievement, and he got them he steadied the ship and got them steady in the WSL. I think on that he deserves a bit more loyalty. I think arguably, yes, they invested, and Smith looks a great young, 18? She looks really promising, a great talent. 20. I'm not sure. Well, she's young talent and she looks great, but I maybe would argue that like that squad compared to some of the better teams, I think he's done quite well with that team. But I suppose that's open for discussion whether Liverpool should be
Yeah,
doing better.
yeah. Look, again, I'm with you. It's a young squad, but like I said, last season they did do really well. They top four in the WSL on. I don't know for sure, but I would bet a chunk of all the change that I have that they do not have one of the top four budgets in the league. That's an amazing performance. And then, but when you do that, and then you do have some money, invested into the team, I think it's right to see at least some stability in those places and to see them compete. So this isn't just about the fact that they're seventh. Like I said to you, I think this is possibly the fact that they're 13 points behind Man City and
It's fair.
in fourth. 13 points, that's massive. That's 4 or 5 game swing. And the performance against City, I just felt it was just a little bit negative. You could hear some of the things that, like the feedback from the sidelines onto the players, and you just, I'm not accusing anyone of anything, but it just didn't seem like some basic tasks were being done to his liking. And then when you take into account the performance the week before in the Adobe Women's FA Cup, in terms of they had a team, a couple of divisions below them, and it took them kind of 75, 80 minutes to carve them open. You can see why maybe they haven't waited. Like I said, I don't think it's necessarily like if they were seventh and 2 points behind fourth and competing.
Yeah.
I think it'd be different. But Man City, who are sat in fourth, just beat them kind of 4-0, 4-1. It was, and I know the Etihad's a tough place to go, but I think you just want to see him kick on. But if the club are going to sack him because they've invested, they need to invest again in whomever they bring in. I still think there's definitely some room for improvement. For me, I'd be quite excited to see some change in tactics as well. I think there's some really good foundations there for whoever's coming in. And I know I'm biased, but it's Liverpool. They've got their own training facility. The club have brought back the old training ground at Melwood for exclusively for the women to use. I believe that's all done and dusted. So there's a real good foundation there. And so I think you and I disagree on this one. I'm just surprised by the timing, but I guess it gives somebody now 10, 12 games left of the season.
An extended
opportunity to come
pre-season.
And to not just to get the feet on the table, but to have a look at what's there and what's needed. So 14 games played at 22. So there's about 8 games left. So I'd love to see something a bit different, maybe slightly more front-footed football, a bit of bravery, and they 9 points clear of relegation. I don't see them going down. I don't see them cracking into the top 4. So maybe now is a good time, despite me being surprised by it. But I think the rest of the season, the ambition for whoever comes in should be, can they get to 5th? Can they and maybe get within touching distance? Because I think 13 points is a massive amount to make up. Just ask Arsenal in the men's Premier League.
Yeah,
13 points is huge. But I think 13 points is probably too much to make up. But can they close that gap slightly to City and finish 5th and leapfrog Spurs and Brighton? We've talked about Beth England not playing for a team that aren't playing particularly well. They're sat above Liverpool in the WSL at the moment. So I think whoever comes in needs to look at that outside the top 4, that little mini league, and go, want to win that.
How?
And have a look at what I've got. and then the club then need to back whoever they bring in the summer. Maybe get some extra faces in. The girl they brought in from Bayern Munich, the name escapes me at the moment, but like maybe that's a permanent transfer they can make. She's come into midfield and looked really good, and I think that would be a good move as well.
Right, on the last talking point, Japan beat USA 2-1 in the She Believes Cup. Thoughts, Ross?
Fair play, Japan. They've got a really good team at the moment. Gino is one of my favourite players. In the WSL, she is just so much fun to watch. So technically gifted, and it's annoying she plays for Man City, but just so good, and only 20. You know, there's another superstar for the future. But yeah, she's incredible. Japan have a really good team, always have done in women's football, always been technical, quick, play to their strengths. Always
been
really
one of the best, haven't they? Always been a compete.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say is it probably isn't as big a deal as perhaps it looks. USA rested a lot of their players for this tournament. There's no Trinity Rodman, no Sophia Smith, I forget her surname now, she's married.
No alarms for USA fans then?
No, I wouldn't be too worried. I think it's great for the players who've come in and who've had to lead the line and got that experience. We've just talked about how frustrating it is to not see England do that with the use of substitutes. So, great experience for them. I think for me, what was a big surprise was seeing Australia finish bottom of the pile with no points in the entire tournament.
Yeah.
I know it's a very short form tournament, and obviously they are missing Sam Kerr, who
big player.
Yeah, she's their go. But I don't think there's anything that the US need to be too concerned about. And I just congratulations to Japan. They're a really fun team to watch if you get a chance to. And the other thing with Japan is that tournament, it's like, for those who don't know, like She Believes, there's 4 teams. You play each other once, so it's 3 games and that's it. It's over. It's short form and the games they come round thick and fast. You know, they scored early in 2 of their 3 games. So they got off to really quick starts. In the final game against the US, they were 1-0 up after 90 seconds. You know, and if you can do that and you can do that consistently, you know, that what a great thing to know.
Yeah.
You know, when you're in that groove, you know, 1 up after 2 minutes, and you can just kind of go from there. But yeah, congratulations to Japan. Fujino is the best player in the WSL to watch. She just brings a smile to my face. The way she plays is incredible. I don't think it's anything the US need to be too concerned about.
I think in the Olympics, obviously, I'm not saying the She Believes Cup was it's great to have these little tournaments, but in the Olympics, the USA they looked rejuvenated and looked so good under Emma Hayes. They bled through loads of new, and it was one of those where the old team, the cycle naturally happened where the new blood came through. You know, you had Alex Morgan retiring, and they look good. But yeah, no concerns for USA. Let's see what happens in the future.
That was Japan's first She Believes title. So
was it?
Fair play to him, yeah.
Good. Any other players before we close up? Is there anyone you want to mention or any other points before we wrap up, Ross?
No.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next time.